Hi everyone, welcome back to Maria's Ideas Teaches Us to Paint. If you are a first-time viewer, welcome. This is a 10-minute tutorial for episode 24 of 2024, and this is called Living Fossil. We are painting a nautilus. We often on the show have guests, and I do design each painting to correspond or be inspired by our guest. So that's why we chose the nautilus. And we do film this show once a month at Johno's Art Studio and Maria's Ideas at the top of the Southside Slopes in Pittsburgh. So if you're ever around, you can stop by when we are open. Our hours on our websites. But and also we film this with our friend Alan Levine. So welcome, and let's get started. So we typically paint on a canvas panel or canvas board. We use 11 by 14. This is just like a canvas panel. It's a little rigid, and that way we don't have as much bounce. It's just a little bit easier for the viewers to watch as we film the show. This is the tutorial to help you draw the design first. As we do the show, we paint along together. We already have it drawn, so that's what each of these is for. So this is on BPTV. It's on this YouTube channel, of course, Maria's Ideas Art. And so anyway, welcome, and let's get started. So assuming you have an 11 by 14, you can use any size. The process of creating this grid system will work on any size. You can transfer something from, as long as the proportions are the same. If I drew the same amount of rectangles on something like this, I can transfer this design to a wall that, say, each rectangle here might be 1 inch by 1.5 inches on the wall. It may be 2 feet by 1 foot. So that's how a lot of murals transfer designs, and muralists do that. And anyway, that's one way. The other way is if you have transfer paper, which is like carbon paper. Some of the older folks might remember that. You put the transfer paper under. You can get this in craft shops or online. It comes in white, it comes in graphite, and you can see it transferred the design. You just trace over your design. So that's something, and just another way. If you didn't feel comfortable drawing it directly onto your canvas or your panel, you can draw it on paper and you can transfer it. You can also color the back with a graphite pencil and then rub it from the other side, and that will also transfer it too. So anyway, let's get started here. So, I just bumped my light. This is my light. Okay, there we go. So anyway, this is the nautilus, and what I'm going to do first is I'm going to draw this a little darker just so you can see it, but I recommend when you do this grid system, if you choose to, use a graphite pencil, but very lightly, or chalk or a watercolor pencil, something that will not show up as you paint, that your paint will be able to cover. We always use acrylics. So let's see. So what we're going to do is create this same, you can measure if you'd like. I usually don't measure. I just kind of eyeball it just to give me a rough idea. So I usually do a little point above and below, and then just look as I'm drawing to connect them. And again, this is artwork. We don't try to make it look like anyone else's. We just do our own thing. We're not trying to paint anything with such extreme details or photorealistic qualities. We just like to paint in a more expressive way. So don't get too worried about that. You can certainly do that on your own. We just like to just paint. We do these pretty quickly too as we're talking through the show. This is a volunteer show as well. We just like to inspire others to get creative. Our goal is to just make it our own and not make it look like anyone else's or mine. So with that in mind, so just keep that in mind as you paint and draw, so you don't have to worry about making it look like mine. So there we have our grid. So what I do now is I will look on this grid and see, okay, the first rectangle over and down, what is in there, and just mimic, draw what you see. It gives you a point of reference that helps break it down and keep it a little simplified. And you know, most things you're starting with geometric shapes also. So let's do, this is an oval shape, part of an oval, so we can even get that in there first. So let's start with that. This top, the top part of the shell where the hood of this the Nautilus begins is somewhere about here. And then I can mark, put a little indication here, this how it comes up, just a point of reference. And then I'm coming over here, and that just works for me here. And then it's coming about here. So what that does is it helps guide me as I'm drawing my oval. And it can be a little bit different, like I said. This is, and it's also something in nature that no two are alike. I know even their patterns on their shells are very specific and individual, so that's why I think these are very interesting creatures. So there you have, so I kind of indicated where they are on my design where I put the grid, and then I can just create that. Okay, so there you have it. And then over here, the second one over, this one is where the hood is above. It starts here, it comes over, and there really aren't any straight lines on this guy. So we're just going to do something like that. And then it comes down about on mine, I'm using my 14, that's about an inch here, and angles over, and then it goes up this way, and then the tentacles are in front of that. So you can see we already have, do this little dark, we already have the body. There's the hood. Okay, and then we have, this is as the shell comes around, this is the umbilicus, I believe. This is where we will draw this. I do it lightly first, and then I'll make it a little darker. And like I said, I'm making it darker just for you to be able to see it. Okay, and then we have where the eye is in this second one over and two down. It's about it's about 3/4 of an inch down. So that's where this is here. And in mine, it's a little bit, slightly different size than I have on there, and that's okay. So their eyes are quite large. All right. All of the detail gets added when we paint. All right. So then what we want to do is just get this shell where the shell is, because once you get those tentacles going, you can do them in any way you choose. You don't have to do them exactly like this one, but get these basic shapes in first. Okay, so now the tentacles, you know, they can be, they're the shorter pieces that are around this area first where the tentacles come out. That's the tentacle sheath. And so some of those are like they're shorter, they're just look a little different than the tentacles. So some of those might be a little shorter. I'm just going to just randomly kind of draw some of these. And then the tentacles, I'll have to do a little research here to find out how many, if they all, I'm assuming they all have the same number of tentacles. I'm not sure. And then as you paint, you can also, you know, have fun with it. You can get very whimsical with these. You can make them curly or whatever. Just have fun with it. It's art, right? So that's your basic shape. The growth lines in the shell as we came around, we drew this as just a simple line. But when we paint, and you can do it as well now, is just kind of bring it out. The segments, they just kind of lay on top of each other. You can see the little segments here, And then the stripes, the stripe patterns are unique as well. I wouldn't even worry about drawing the stripes on. I would just paint them on. But if you wanted to get these growth lines, you can do that just to help you figure out where everything's going to be. All of the details, everything gets done when you paint it. We also have the line of the bottom, say, of the ocean, and maybe there will be some coral here. You can even do that when you paint it, and then there'd be a shadow under here. But I usually do all of that as I'm painting. So there you go. There's our Nautilus, and that's what we're going to paint. So you can watch the show, and hope you'll be inspired to keep creating and come back. We are going to continue our show for the 3rd year in 2025. So thank you for watching. Maria's Ideas teaches us to paint, and happy painting.